public advocate. I'm with Senator Dick Black, who is a hero here in Loudoun County. The country itself is in turmoil with the transgender, bizarre perverts that are trying to corrupt our children with the Marxist critical racist theory that they claim they're not doing while they're condemning and arresting parents here in Loudoun. Dick Black makes liberals cry. He makes them cry like little babies. How and why did you step forward, Mr. Black, Senator Black? Why did you come forward and speak to the school board in 58 seconds that turned the entire fight, turned the crowd here excitedly standing on their chairs, cheering you, and erupted in uncontrolled enthusiasm for you, Senator Black? What goes through your head, Senator Black? Why are you here? What's going on in Loudoun County?
Well, thank you, Eugene. Now, I want to talk about the school board meeting. Well, and this is a very sinister building right here. Right now, the things going on within this building are extraordinarily racist and depraved, and they are an attack on every family that has children in the public schools. Now, when we started off, there were groups of Rainbow Coalition, LBGT, sodomy people who were bussed in, and they were right there in that parking lot right there. I recall one of the biggest banner that they had. It was a big rainbow flag, and in the center of it was a very militant, clenched black fist. It's a symbol of violence and hatred. The school board wanted to adopt this policy 80-40. 80-40 and its related policies basically says that if you have a boy who says he's a girl, you have to call him a girl, and vice versa. So you have to call boys girls, girls boys, and in addition to that, the boys are able to participate in girls' sports. All they have to do is say, you know, I feel like a girl today, and so I'm going to be the weightlifting champion. I'm going to set the record for girls weightlifting or girls running or whatever it is. And so they had that. They also said in their policies that if a boy says he kind of feels like a girl today, you got to put him in the girls' shower, you got to put him in the girls' locker room, you got to put him in the girls' bathroom, and you expose girls, you strip away all of their privacy, and you leave them where they're totally helpless in the face of these deviant elements. And so that was what was going on. This was coming to a head. Each time there was a meeting of the school board, more and more people poured on. More people were becoming aware of what was happening. And at this point, I felt like it was necessary for me to get out, to get involved, and just to lend my weight to what was going on. So I went through the crowd there, a very militant, a very aggressive crowd, and I went, and there were the people, the parents, the family people. And now what had happened, the school board, of course, is intensely pro-sexual deviant and pro-critical race theory. And so what they did is, without notifying the rest of the population, they opened the sign up for who could sign up to speak first. They secretly opened it up early, and they let the word out to the LGBT groups and the critical race theory people. They said, hey, you get in here, you sign up. So that's why we had initially this group of people who were there, who were arguing in favor of the transgender stuff. But when they were finished, we had a total of 259 people signed up to speak. Only 15 were the transgender advocates. And so after that, every single speaker was a pro-family speaker.
So you're describing the situation, the subterfuge, the subversion, actually the underhanded backs operating outside the public exposure.
Yes.
Outside the letter of the law.
Illicitly.
These are many different times that they've had secret meetings on social media, excluding the public, blocking conservatives, blocking parents, and now they're blocking the entire county of Loudoun. The entire government here is, in the school administration, blocking individuals en masse.
Yes.
Just cutting you off. And finally, the night that you're speaking, even with a limited 58 seconds, the crowd in that moment understands the duplicity and the betrayal of these so-called elected officials who are lawless. And it was in that moment that they just couldn't take it anymore, and righteous indignation set in with you as its spokesman. Could you comment on that?
Well, it surprised me, frankly, but I directly attacked the school board for what they were doing. I talked about the fact that Tanner Cross had come and he had spoken at the public meeting, and that they immediately jerked him from his job and started an investigation of him. And I said, look, if making a comment at a public hearing is not free speech, then there simply is no free speech at all. And that started people on their feet. And then I talked about the fact, I said, you have been caught red-handed with an enemies list, a secret enemies list that you're making against opponents of critical race theory. And eventually, by the time that I got to the end, and I said, I am disgusted by your racism and your perversion, and I was about to say, and it's time for us to get rid of the Gang of Six. Now, the Gang of Six are this Marxist-leaning group of people, and there's a recall petition, total of 6, and that is underway, and it's gotten tremendous response. I mean, I've never seen anything like this in a recall petition before. So that is underway. What we saw on this night was an absolute victory for the people of Loudoun County, the parents, the decent people who live good, honest lives. They just overwhelmed the school board. The school board adjourned and retreated out the back door as quickly as they could. So we had a tremendous victory. That was the last meeting of the school board until August. But what's going to happen in August is this school board is going to have to face the people again. And I have a feeling that there's going to be an intensity you will not believe. Now, at the same time, what's happening is people are beginning to discover what critical race theory is. Critical race theory, it's a Marxist theory that says that you break people apart. You condemn white people for being genetically racist, and that even if they have never done anything, they're guilty because somewhere in their blood there's white blood, and you've got to get after them no matter what their background or what they've done. And it's teaching the teachers who instruct them, and it's teaching the children in the classes to bully these children and to condemn them, to belittle them, to make fun of them, and to make them just feel sick about being in school. And it's a horrible thing. So it's something we've got to stop.
Our next segment, we will have Jon Tigges, American patriot, a parent who was arrested. Could you quickly comment in under a minute about the bravery of Jon Tigges? You led the crowd. This man stood and said, we have a First Amendment right. He responded to your call that we have a First Amendment right to respond to public comment by public officials.
Yes, when we were told to leave, no one ever said that this had been declared as an unlawful assembly. But the police began to say, okay, we've got to shut down and move out. And Jon Tigges very rightly said, look, we're here for a public hearing, and we have a right to be here. And consequently, now he didn't resist violently, but the police took him into custody because he didn't voluntarily leave. Now, had he been a BLM protester or an Antifa person, he could have smashed windows, he could have burned stores, he could have chased people down and beat them with a club, and they'd have said, oh, no big deal, let this person go. But Jon Tigges, because in a very dignified way, he says, I can't leave because I have a right to be here. So he was arrested because of that. And the conservatives, decent people, are held to an extraordinarily stringent standard, whereas the people, the mobs are allowed to do anything that they want, however violent it might be.
Well, thank you, Senator Black, for being with us for this full 2 segments. For those of you out there, Senator Black is leading. We'll have Jon Tigges in a moment. We must stand up, and as Tucker Carlson said, and as Dick Black leads by example, we must have you stand up, no matter the consequences. And we'll have the man, Jon Tigges, in a moment, who paid that price. I do want to acknowledge that Senator Black is an American hero, has fought for our country, and is a hero in every sense of the word. God bless you. Thank you, thank you, thank you. This is Eugene Delgaudio. This is a big day for Loudoun County, a big day for the United States of America. And we're here at the school board building in Loudoun County, where the whole country, thank you, by the way, all of you, throughout the United States, that have helped us with this message of liberty, this message of freedom, this message of salvation, which we are asking for help. So I've asked Mr. Tigges to come here to explain and to give an opportunity so that America and Loudoun County could hear what it was on his heart and how he feels about being taken into custody by the despotic school board. And why did you come here?
A number of us who'd been meeting for the last few weeks together, weekly, to discuss what could be done, had organized and planned to have a max showing here. Even if the school board wasn't going to listen, we were going to present our case. So I actually was just able to sit right in front. And it ended up being strategic, because as time went on and we started going through the process, first front-loaded with leftist speakers, somehow the 10 people in the room that actually believe in some of this wokeism ideology all got to speak first. Apparently front-loaded and allowed by the school board. But after they got done, it started moving to the different perspective, the constitutional perspective, people that believe in basic rights and education over ideology, and that was not allowed, and ultimately came to a head when Dick Black spoke, and people of all things responded with applause. And at that point the meeting was stopped, and the school board walked out, and honestly people didn't know what to do. Everyone was standing there stunned that they would leave based on simply applause. And what ended up happening next was sporadically people started just singing, and suddenly people began to sing the national anthem, and they got done with that and we're still looking around, no one's leaving. It began to occur to me that we could still speak, and people very dutifully and peacefully lined up down each row, and one by one people started presenting things without even microphones, and then someone showed up with a portable microphone and we began to speak out of that. And about 30 minutes into it, while people were peacefully presenting their case, way back in one of the corners, some sort of scuffle broke out, which it still isn't clear exactly what happened, but in looking at the video, it appears that there was a instigator, and the individual who wasn't liking it was being pulled away by the sheriff, and the sheriff got a little rough on him, and when he pulled back, they immediately threw him to the ground. And you can watch the video for yourself, but it didn't look like a very well-handled situation by the sheriff's department. Well, add to that the next step with the sheriff's department, and that is when, because of that, the school superintendent got on the microphone and then declared the entire peaceful presentation an unlawful assembly. I know enough, having done about a half a year of weekly rallies about free speech and doing kabuki dances with the Leesburg Police Department, that there is a high bar for unlawful assembly. There are very specific standards that have to be met. I mean, you have to actually have a group of people conspiring to cause harm. And that wasn't taking place in that room. Everyone else continued, and a lot of people don't think even knew that the scuffle took place. And everyone ignored the superintendent. So he deployed a mass amount of sheriffs into the room who started hurting and pushing people and threatening people to leave or be arrested. And a lot of people had scared the daylights out of them and they started to leave. And unfortunately, even some Republican political leaders started pulling people out as well instead of standing our ground. And that's when I started arguing with the police and I told the school superintendent, you do not have the authority to declare this an unlawful assembly. It's completely legal. There's nothing illegal going on, nothing unlawful going on. One scuffle doesn't disrule 500 people from being able to present their case in a public place that they're invited to and had a speaking spot, and there was nothing going on in that room until at least 7 o'clock, which was declared beforehand. We had every right to be there. And we have to stand our ground. We've been retreating for more than 50 years, and look what it's got us. It's time now to take back the institutions that we have, schools being one of the most primary ones. It's the indoctrination of the woke at this point, and if we don't take back schools as a starting point, we're going to continue to kick out uneducated automatons who don't know any different than to support some of the mindless Marxism that's going on.
That's a good summary. I want to also ask you if you could tell us what you were going to say that night before they silenced you. Obviously, you are a leader, and as Tucker Carlson said to you last week in his national broadcast, God bless you, Tucker, for doing that, we need you to get arrested again.
So, the main thing that was on my mind wasn't the race theories and the various gender issues. And to me, what's taking place here in Loudoun and in the schools is a microcosm of what's wrong in the entire country. And that is that we as a country have been in a war, but we haven't been at war. And that's got to change. And that if we continue to lose ground in the schools, or we retreat when totalitarian bureaucrats try to squash you for being there to speak your mind, that this is going to continue. And we are, I believe, this close to the edge at this point. We are at the edge of the cliff to collapse. Every single major institution in our country has been taken over by, this is called what it is, anti-constitutionalists, anti-cons. They hate the Constitution. And when I joined the military over 30 years ago, I put up my right hand and I said, I'm going to defend and protect the Constitution against all enemies, foreign or domestic. And we have an enemy domestically now. Some are in that building. A lot of them are 30 miles that way in Washington, D.C. A lot of them are Republicans who are just as corrupt as any other party. And they're there not for we the people, they're there for themselves. And we have to take this country back. We as a people have got to take responsibility now in order to do that. And that's what I wanted to share with people, is that we own this. We own the responsibility now to take it back.
So, Mr. Tigges, what's going to happen next? I know there's a petition drive. Let's talk about that.
So, petition drive, victory number 1's taking place. Beth Bart's the leader of the Mercenary Six that actually put together a private Facebook group to have an enemies list that they were going to dox and intimidate parents that were against them. Complete federal felony. We got the signatures on her. She's number 1. She's going to go first, and the rest are going to go by guilt of complicity. So that's the first start, is remove and replace. And then we've got to get good candidates in their place, and we're already vetting people that are going to have the constitutional foundation and stand for what's right and stand for what's good and make sure that kids get educated again instead of indoctrinated.
Thank you, John. We still have a few minutes left. We want to talk about Jon. Is it Jon? J-O-N?
Yeah, I'm sorry. Jon at patriotpub.org. Write me. Happy to help you out. We're actually going to try to set up a framework where other people can plug in. They don't have to build their own websites and anything else, where you can just plug in and start using it if you want to. And we want to build an entire network of Patriot Pubs where people will once again start to gain the courage that comes through community, because that's contagious.
Not to get sued, but it's a conservative Rotary Club with bite.
Yeah, I like that.
You're getting people together for discussion and action. You have spokesmen, and as you said, half a dozen of those people that have been part of the Patriot Pub have come forward, and you know they have your back, you have their back. Thank you for that resource. The board comes back, the school board comes back in August. The removal petitions are going to be filed. They're starting one after another. This is going to be the only county in the country with a removal of 6, of a full majority by the citizens. This is going to remove at least one of them through a trial, and the others, by their complicity, hopefully will be also removed. But there's, like you said, other people who are joining this. And one of the things with the court battle is that they can do discovery. Yes, they could do defense, but they could also do discovery. And we're going to discover a lot more of what we've done. In fact, Public Advocate has filed our own FOIAs, and we will be filing our own FOIAs. And I would like to give a shout out one more time to the Supreme Court for helping us save Public Advocate today, 6-3, telling Kamala Harris, who as Attorney General of California sought to force us to give her our financial records, all our donors. That has been defeated, 6-3 by the Supreme Court. So Vice President Kamala Harris, to you. And Andrew Cuomo and all the Cuomos, you're a dead meat in New York. You don't get to get our donors. So the timetable is trial for these individuals next year. What do you see?
Not next year.
This year. You're seeing a trial this year.
Yeah, absolutely. And replacement this year.
Well, John, that does explain it in a way that I hope addresses your question. We are not alone. You are not alone. You have to reach out and find those people that are already leaders, and then you have to coalition, Patriot Pub, and form a coalition in your county or locality and reach out to those people, give them support. There's an army of us here in Loudoun County. That army did not exist without you, John. I know that. I know you started.
A lot of folks.
And, there are a lot of people who know they are the one person. So let's say there's about 500 people in Loudoun County that they're the only person. And they got together with some other people who are the only people. And the 500 introverts became a crowd of extroverts. So let's hear it for all of you in Loudoun County. Let's hear it for John.
Thank you,
John,
Eugene.
Do you want to close?
Yeah, Eugene and this organization has been the consistent people behind, giving people encouragement, giving a lot of people in government help. And my great appreciation to Public Advocate and all the work that Eugene and all your team has been doing, because you guys have been the people cheering people on, giving them, knowing that if they got in trouble, that there might be a lawyer there to bail us out.
Yeah, there'll be a lawyer.
Well,
Thank you, lawyer.
But in any case, my thanks to you, Eugene.
Thank you.
All right. Thank you.
All right.